Okay, here's the Chapter 2 review, The Age of Explorations. Hopefully this will be helpful as you study for your quiz. Reasons for exploration, we call them the three G's: God, gold, and glory. God is to spread Christianity around the world. Gold was to bring the riches from around the world back to Europe. Originally the riches from Asia back to Europe, particularly India and China. And then glory to get the fame and be well known. Explorers set out across the sea looking to accomplish these things. How did Europeans treat the Native Americans? Overall, horribly. They took their land, they spread disease, they lied and cheated to them, they were violent with them. The Spanish used the ecomienda system to enslave them. The only group that really had lasting peace with the Native Americans were the French, because they were working with them for trade. The English and the French came to America for different reasons. The English came here to stay permanently. They formed colonies. They brought the whole family: animals, seeds, children, women. They fought with the Native Americans over land because they were trying to stay and take land, and they stayed near the coast at first. The French went into the interior, where they looked to trap and hunt and fur trade. In general, they were in harmony with the Native Americans as they worked with them and learned from them. The French brought men only who were hunters and traders. Why did African slavery begin in the New World? Well, the ecomienda system originally enslaved the Native Americans, but they all died from smallpox. So the African slaves had exposure to European diseases, so they had immunity. That was the number one reason. They were brought to replace the Native Americans that had died. They're easy to obtain, as there was slave trade in Africa that had been going on for centuries. The Europeans did not want to enslave other Christian people, so they looked to enslave African people, but they also didn't want to enslave people that looked like them, so there was also an element of racism involved as well. Conditions of the Middle Passage that the slaves went on during the triangular trade was absolutely horrible. The Middle Passage is the pathway that crossed the Atlantic Ocean from Africa to the New World, bringing slaves over to America. It was repulsive, horrible, dirty, extremely hot, disease, just absolute misery as these people were crammed under deck. 18% of people died approximately along the trip, and it's amazing that more didn't, as they were chained together and crammed together in absolutely horrible, abusive conditions, with all types of abuse going on. Slaves in America, once they arrived, were treated horribly as well. They were auctioned off, families often divided. They were separated from their family. They were worked up to 20 hours a day. They were routinely abused and not given any rights or any freedoms at all. The Northwest Passage was a pathway that the Europeans were trying to find from Europe to Asia. It does not exist because it's blocked by land and ice. The land being Canada and the United States, what is now Canada and the United States. Back then it was blocked by ice year-round by the ice cap in the Arctic Sea. Today, at times that melts and boats can get through there. Explorers like John Cabot and Henry Hudson looked for it. They didn't find it, but it's important to remember the Northwest Passage because these explorers found and discovered all the resources that will become the land of Canada and the United States today. Columbian Exchange was started when Christopher Columbus crossed the ocean. It's the start of global trade, the trade of plants, animals, and disease, people, and goods across the Atlantic Ocean and all around the world, and it continues today, as you can find evidence by any of your goods that are from across the ocean. Disease is one of the things brought by the Columbian Exchange. The Europeans brought diseases that killed the Native Americans by the millions, and the number one disease that did this was smallpox. If you choose the right on the quiz, make sure you identify what you're talking about. No pronouns at first. Don't start your answer with it, they, he, she. Write in sentence form with a subject and a verb. Make sure it's neat and legible and carefully written. You should have lots of key details in your writing, and they should be underlined or highlighted to show that you understand them and know what they are. The more detail in your writing, the better. Here's a good written example. Identify the Northwest Passage, explain why it's important. You can see that it's in sentence form. You can see the keywords are underlined, and you can see it has plenty of detail. If you decide to draw, make sure you show details. You label them. I won't be grading your art in any way. I'll be looking for your understanding. So make sure you label and show your details, and make sure your answer answers all parts of the question. And if you need to write a sentence or two to clarify, that's probably a good idea as well. I hope this was helpful for your review.